Greetings, Ericsson family. Welcome to the first of two conversations we're going to have for Black History Month, revolving around being Black in America. Today, I have a great panel to discuss that, and indeed, that topic of being Black in America today. I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Daniel here.
Awesome. Well, great to see you all virtually. My name is Daniel Smith. In the business-wise, I work as a global strategic sourcing manager, and for the Ericsson African American Alliance, I am the co-chair of the organization.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Kimberly Lightsey. I'm on the people team, so I'm a people business partner for our CSS organization, and I'm one of the core team members for our EAA organization as well.
And I'm happy to be here also. My name is Alvis Douglas, and I work with the events team with the African American Alliance, and I work in IT as a mobile device administrator.
Perfect. Let me not negate that the African American Alliance is doing a tremendous job this Black History Month, just bringing light to, conversations and, having those topics and discussions that, not only African Americans need to have, but just the company as a whole. And people need to just have in common just to hear those conversations and topics. So today, just to kick off, the first question is, what does it feel like to be Black in America for you all? How does that feel? What are you all dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, my. We have our good days and we have our bad days. I mean, I think being Black in America is coming to the forefront again, where when I was younger, I mean, we always talked about we're Black and we're proud. We carried it on from the 60s to the 70s and 80s, and we talked about things. But then we got a lull because we thought we had kind of made it. But now we're coming back because we see things have not changed, especially with the George Floyd incident. We was like, didn't we get past this? Mm-hmm. But now we know it's happening, and it's becoming more prevalent because we're seeing more of it. Before, we didn't see as much of the police brutality, but now we're seeing more police brutality on our Black brothers and sisters, and we're also seeing more of the things that take place in our own communities. Being Black in your own community, what does that mean? How does that have effect on you? Just not what's happening in the corporations or in the world between whites and Blacks and whites and other races. It's just between our own communities that it's sometimes hard being Black in America in your own community.
Yeah. I would say, and I totally agree with you, but I would say, personally for myself, I feel like Black is beautiful.
Yes.
So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm so beautiful. I look in the mirror.
Absolutely.
We have different shades, different hairstyles, different styles. Mm-hmm. People want to know, who are you? What do you do? Mm-hmm. What do you do to make your hair this way? What are your style? People want to know about us. So sometimes I wake up and I'm like, we have issues still in our communities and we have to deal with those. But also too, I feel like people want to know that our not Black want to know more about us as well. And I feel so good to wake up and say, you know what am I going to wear today? What am I going to look like? And who I can share with, I want to share with the world who I am and what I look like.
Right.
Things of that sort. I don't want to make it about looks, but sometimes I do feel like it's so beautiful because we're so different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to keep that optimism too, because for my generation being a millennial, I always ask my parents and my grandparents about the different challenges and things that they had to do to get me to the point that I'm at. Mm-hmm. And the reason I have optimism is because while, yes, these things that are happening in our country today, we still have a lot of systemic things to get through, political things, economic things. And I think within my generation, we're doing a better job of understanding how the limitations that were placed on my parents' generations and my grandparents' generations, while they were limitations, it also opened up the opportunity for me to make a change for what my future and my kids' future can look like. And so I appreciate them for when we talk about civil rights, we talk about, Jim Crow and all of these different eras that were designed to restrict African Americans economically. We see that on our side trying to grow up and say, hey, I want to make all these different changes in the world.
Correct.
But there were so many restrictions of just access to wealth, to be able to own homes, to be able to own land, and how critical that is for a family to be able to build out what they want their legacy to be. And so from my perspective, my ambition comes from that. So I think a lot of my generation is very focused on what we can do to take what other people have sacrificed before us and make the most out of it for not just our lives, but for our children's lives, so that those things that were done before us weren't done in vain. So I'm really optimistic about what Black America is going to look like moving forward, because we are understanding our history and we know how to properly empower ourselves, and we're not relying on a system or any individual to do it for us.
That's an amazing point. And you talk about being, optimistic, and we had three different perspectives there.
Yes.
How do you all feel? So let's take into consideration Alvis's, her topic of, kind of the struggles that we have being, Black in the communities, not only, at the world at large, but within our own communities. How do you all feel about that as far as being Black in your own Black community and still having to struggle with identity and, getting over, hardships and heartaches? How do you all feel about that?
I want to start with love.
Okay.
I think we do have struggles within our own community where we do see Black on Black crime all the time. We see, unfortunately, our own people not really caring for some of us, But I do feel like it starts with love because I realize that because we've been through so much, and I do agree with Daniel about their generation because I've seen it within my son. He's very positive about the outlook, but he's also aware, of what's going on. So for me, I feel like I try to teach him, talk to his friends. I try to talk to as many people in a younger generation to kind of share love and say, we could do better. You guys have so much that's out there that I didn't have when I was coming up, when I was in my 20s as well. But I just feel like it starts with love, trying to love people for who they are, trying to accept people, but also letting them know. And I know it's evil. Like, it's hard to, sometimes people are just evil, no matter who they are, and it doesn't matter. But trying to give them more love to say, you know what, I accept you. What can I help you with? What are your struggles? So I think sometimes if we could focus on some of that, maybe it would get better. But it is hard when we're all living our own lives and we have things going on. But we do have to do better within our community for sure.
Most definitely. I think, even back in the day, and I'm not going to tell my age, but, it was a lot of you're darker than me or you're lighter than me. So if you were lighter, that means you had access to more.
Yeah.
Whereas you were a darker skinned Black person, we're not going to give you that access. And some people don't really understand that went on for a long time. And sometimes it's still going on, because if you're lighter, you were closer to the white skin. So you had access to things that were more. But I agree with you. We do need to love each other more. Stop the infighting within our own community.
Yeah.
Let's help our community. If you see somebody's yard needs cutting, go over there and cut it. Yep. If you see a child that's getting out of hand, go over there and talk to the child and say, what can I help you with? Or ask the parents. Because sometimes our communities just need love and understanding, and we need to reach out. If we have the resources or we don't, we can have the knowledge that can help. We got to start building it up. So if we can go to Carter High School in Dallas, let's go. Let's make that our, pinpoint that for our thing to do, to make that school better, for our kids to come up and be better than what we were. Absolutely. If they see a helping hand, in the end, they're going to help somebody when they get older too.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And I, as you were saying, I was thinking of something that I watched. It was talking about when you strip, for example, African Americans, we've been stripped of our freedom for such a long time that what happens is you don't actually believe that you can be free, so you'll settle with the symbols of freedom. You'll settle what looks good and what looks well, which creates this divisiveness between the community because now it's based on what I have in comparison to what you don't. And because I've put my identity in what I have and those symbols of freedom and not freedom themselves, that's where you start to separate yourself from other people. Well, this is where I live. This is where I go to school. This is the color of my skin.
Right.
So now if you do not associate with the things that I have, then I don't want to connect with you. I don't want to collaborate with you. We come into these corporate spaces and we know that there's not many of us here.
That's correct.
And part of that same issue is when we see other people that look like us, we're less inclined to invest in those other people to be mentors, to be sponsors.
That's right.
Because, I'm sitting at the table.
Yeah.
There's only so many seats at the table. So because this is what I identify with, I'm not necessarily invested in helping the next person get another seat here.
Correct.
I'm more invested in keeping my seat here.
Right.
And so it's those type of things that I think we have to overcome and not let the systemic and the negative things of the world remind us that we've persevered a lot. We're really powerful people. We're beautiful. We're in love. We can do a lot of things, which is why I don't like to spend a lot of time. And I think it's our generation. We don't spend a lot of time meditating on what has happened to us. But because we've created so much even within that time period that a lot of people will leave out of history in order to tell you that you're this victim and you're operating in deficit. But they won't tell you how well we actually did.
That's right.
Prior to segregation and prior
That's
to
correct.
all of those different things
That's
that
correct.
happened. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm thinking. I feel like that's that divisive spirit that we have to get out, so that way we can connect, collaborate, and be more invested in each other for the things that we want to create for our future.
Because you got to look at it, Daniel, like we were great people. We built schools
we did.
from the ground up.
Absolutely.
We built churches. You know, even though we were enslaved, we did a lot of that. You know, we helped people get education by sending $1 here and $1 there. We did a lot of things. We built the White House.
Absolutely.
So if we could
I
do
was gonna
that,
say
we can
that.
do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
It's funny because that last question, kind of posed, 3 things, and I'll start with Kimberly when she said she started with love. First thing that came to mind is God is love. So when you show that love, you're showing that godly love to, your brothers and sisters throughout the entire community.
That's correct.
Second thing that came to mind was kind of funny because Alvis brought up, being in a neighborhood. And, I remember when I was a kid, my neighbor could, go to my mom, or my neighbor could say, hey, stop doing this, and almost give me a whipping, type
Correct.
situation.
Correct.
Those days are of the yesteryear, unfortunately, because neighborhoods aren't neighborhoods anymore. Kids don't come outside. You don't see kids playing anymore. Like when I was a kid growing up, it was as soon as school was out and I didn't have any homework, I was on my bike. I was down the street at my friend's house and
your
things of that
street
nature.
clothes on,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Put your street clothes on.
Clothes on,
Exactly. Exactly. And then the last point that I want to bring up is that Daniel talked about having a seat at the table. And that kind of sparked something in me. How do we create our own table to not necessarily be inclusive to just us?
Right.
But if we build that table, how do we go ahead and expand to make that, we all look different.
Correct.
The 4 of us here, we all look different. I'm going to bring my associate in. You can't see behind the camera. Chip is a Caucasian individual. If we build that table, how do we bring a Chip in? How do we bring, our bosses in? How do we make that table so that it's just a big cohesive table, but we're not necessarily looking at, oh, we're black. We built this table.
Correct.
You can't have a part of it.
Yep.
Correct.
But we're black. We built this table, but we want to go ahead and expand out. How do we do that?
I would say most of us think that way. We don't think like we only want our Black people at the table.
Absolutely.
I feel like I've always thought like I want to have a diverse set of people at the table.
Yes.
I want to understand different perspectives because we bring something different to the table. What Chip experienced in his life and his, background, he could bring a lot to the table and let
Most
us,
definitely.
So I think I'm okay with doing that, creating a table for everyone. You said, how do we do it? We just do it.
Okay.
We just do
We
it.
just do it. Yeah. Because we are inclusive. We are an inclusive community.
By nature,
We
yeah.
don't we
Yeah.
don't want
Yeah.
everybody to be left out. If Chip is having a problem and I know him, Chip, what you need? What
Yeah.
you need? We've
Yeah.
always been like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's our innate nature to always be inclusive and not to be exclusive.
Yeah.
And we have a very forgiving heart too. If you notice, very forgiving.
Absolutely.
We say, we've been through this, we forgive you, let's move on. And
Right.
like Daniel said, we have to think about the future. We have so much available to us now. Yeah, there's still some barriers and some walls we got to break down, but we do have a lot now that we didn't have, years ago. So I do agree about moving forward. And my son thinks exactly like that. He's like, this is what I can do. I want to create this business. And he
Right.
can actually do it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
but my mom, she probably wouldn't be able to create a business
Right.
back in her day, So yeah,
I think I would say we have to redefine success.
That's
from
a great
what
one.
we
Good.
thought success is.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I look at it as a lot what you said about your son. Like the table itself came from a framework of mind of opportunity and ownership.
Right.
So if I put myself in that mindset of there is an opportunity for me to own, there is an opportunity for me to create significance, not just for me and my family. So when I look at the table, when we work for these corporations, it's no longer I'm going to clap my hands for myself because I made
Right.
it.
Yeah.
My success comes from how well have I done for other people.
Sure.
I don't
Exactly.
believe you've done anything significant or successful if you've only done it for yourself. And if
Correct.
that's your framework of success, then that's why the table is as lonely,
As
so
it
to
is.
speak, as it
That's
is.
good, yeah.
Because you're still telling yourself that you made it, but it wasn't
Right.
really about you.
Right.
The reason we integrated into these companies, these structures, and to have opportunities to build businesses was so that we can say, hey, look at me as an example, and what can I do to pay it forward to the next
That's
person?
correct.
And if you're not paying it forward, you're not successful.
That's
That's
right.
not the definition of success. So that's, I
Right.
think, how we do it.
I
and how
think we
think
just
about it.
pull up the chair behind us and say, come on in here.
Come have a
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah.
Let me
Squeeze
scoot
on in
over.
here. Right. Yeah.
You know, let's
Yeah.
let's get it going. Like you said, my son also is always talking about finances and doing things. But he's not talking about doing it by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, Mom, I want you to do this. I want Jazz to do this. I want somebody else to do this. He said, because I want to be where all of us have it, not just one person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm
Group-
like,
group
whoa.
economics.
Yeah.
It's group
Yeah.
economics. It
Yeah.
has to be an ecosystem. It has to be a community.
Right.
So as you are the professional in corporate, just as you have the network of people that are business owners or the people in politics or the people in the economy, like that network matters.
That's
to
correct.
Ensure that as you're making decisions, oh wait, I have a relationship here because it's not just about me. I'm always constantly building my community, like your son talks about. It's not just about what I can do for myself. It's for my family. Okay, well, if you position yourself here, Mom, you're in corporate America. What can I learn from you?
You, right.
Okay, great. Oh, this is what I'm learning. Okay, this is how I can give it to you. I can give it to my
Right.
sibling, my
Absolutely.
cousin, my
Right.
friend. So
Right.
I think it's just a great way of defining group economics. That's how you build wealth that's generational and it passes
Yes.
along.
Yes. That's something we do need to build is generational wealth.
Yeah. On the topic of paying it forward, I had the privilege of working with Daniel last year, and hopefully again this year with the scholarship program that we have with the Melville Family Foundation, and I think what Daniel and Tony did as far as mentoring those young men and the scholarship recipients, as far as mentorship, is priceless, invaluable. What is something that we can do as far as mentorship, looking good within our community to, kind of enhance that feature as far as, reaching out to the younger generation to say, hey, you all have sons that are, younger age. What can we do to say, let's bring them along as well?
I remember working with the Melville Family Foundation. They've been a huge connecting piece to us and working with Uplift to provide those scholarships. And Dr. Melville, the CEO of the organization, she talked, one of her primary messages for their foundation is proxemic service. And it's redefining service in the way of, I care about something, here's my dollar bill, hope it helps you, which in some cases that's great. We should sow our money into things that we care about. But when we talk about mentorship, it's proxemic. Proxemic being you have to sow your time.
That's correct.
And put yourself in the space. If we are so consumed with, I made it, so to speak, I've done great in my life and I'm not willing to give my time to those like in the that receive the scholarship.
Sure.
A lot of these black and brown students don't know about STEM majors. And
That's
we
right.
know and understand that the STEM career-based paths that you can take are one of the best, highest-paying careers that you can take. And when we talk about generational wealth and all these things are building for the future, that's where we want to position people. But if they don't
Absolutely.
have the awareness of it, because the people that are here in these spaces, even how few of us is, won't sow their time
That's
with
correct.
the youth, sow their time with people that don't have access to the knowledge and resources that we have. And I think that's not what mentorship is. It has to be proxemic mentorship.
Okay.
Put yourself in the space, have the conversation. Don't just give the dollar. Don't just give, I can shoot you a phone call for 10 minutes and you can talk to me. No, give your time.
Time, Sure. right.
Let them
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that I care about from end to end what your success looks like. I believe that's
Absolutely.
what it should be.
Right, most definitely. I remember when my kids were going to elementary school, and I started volunteering, just doing it. And one of the things I had to do was help a Hispanic boy learn English. And I would go over there on my lunch hour every week, at least once or twice a week, depending on how many times I could get off. And I came to a PTA meeting, not knowing that the PTA meeting was about me. I think it was a PTA meeting.
Oh, wow.
And they gave me the Volunteer of the Year award. And I'm like, well, what did I do? And they said, you don't know how much you helped him to read.
Wow.
The proximity, like you're saying, I was there.
You was there. Yep.
I was making sure that he learned. I didn't care about what color he was. It was the child that was more important to me than anything. I didn't care about an award. And I was like, my thing was just to help him. And he went leaps and bounds above what he had at the beginning of the year.
Wow.
He went from a no grade reading level to a third grade reading level just by me coming to help him for that 1 hour. And I was like,
Makes a big difference.
it does. And I'm kind of choked up again, but that's what we need to do, not only for those, but all of them.
Yeah.
We have to be there for them. Thinking about when we had the children here, the young men and young ladies, last month?
Yeah.
When I'm telling them, you don't have to just be an engineer in one thing. It's a lot of types of engineers. I tell them about the elevator. You can be an elevator engineer.
Absolutely.
You can be a transportation engineer. You can be so many engineers. It's so many things out there. And they were like, really? I'm like,
Yeah.
they need to know. And we do have the knowledge to give them that information.
I can say for myself, I've fallen short in that aspect of not necessarily being a good mentor to a younger student. My boss actually came to me and asked me that I want to speak at for some individuals who are in middle school. It's called Suit Up. And I says, well, and I'm part of me is selling myself short because, it's based upon, what you want to do to, start your college career and things like that, you get into the professional aspect of things. And I said to my boss, I didn't finish college, all these, excuses that I came up with. And I feel like I'm selling myself short.
Yeah.
Because I do have something to offer these young
Yes,
men.
you do.
Because it's one of those things that was like, don't sell yourself short because what you went through, what you gained
Yes.
in professional experience and life experience.
Yes.
And not necessarily having to finish college. Not saying that, I don't want these kids to go to college.
Right.
But you have something to give to those
Yes,
young
you do.
individuals.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those situations where, people will sometimes sell themselves short. And looking at, their situations is like, man, I really should have. And, you look back at it, it's like, man, I should have, said something to that young man, to that young
Right,
woman.
right.
But now I'm at the point where it's like, okay, let's go ahead, speak up. Let's give these people these opportunities, give these young individuals these opportunities to say, hey, this is the path that I took. This worked for me. It could work for you as well, but you just have to, like Daniel said, it's a proximity thing. You have to be there. You have to be able to make sure that you are conveying what you need to these young individuals to say, hey, you can do this too.
Right.
It's not that hard. It's just going to be some bumps in the road.
That's right.
Because everybody
It's not
is not
easy.
going to. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But there's going to be some bumps in the road. But you can do this. You can be successful. You can start your own business. You can work in the corporate sector. You can do elevator. You can be an elevator engineer. A lot of these kids they don't know
That's
the
right.
opportunity that they have to explore because they are taught some things that says, oh, I can do this, this, and this. But there's so much more that they can actually
Right,
explore to actually elevate themselves to who knows what they can. Sky's the limit.
In regards to, at least for the Ericsson audience that may be listening to this, whether you're African American or whether you're not, like just staying on that proxemic piece.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, and sometimes we can put it in a separate box in how we operate our business. But diversity enables business. And I got the opportunity to be a part of the strategy session last week, where as a company, we're setting and forecasting out what we want our next 5 years to look like. And diversity and inclusion, mental health, psychological safety, all these different things that are buzzwords and sound great are not to be treated as a separate box to how we
Right.
operate our business.
Right.
The most diverse businesses are the best businesses.
That's
Right.
correct.
We are in the time of a economic, whatever you want to call it, but the businesses that hold their cultures tight and put that at the forefront of how they connect with their customers, how they connect with their consumers, that's what ultimately leads to the 5-year plans and the 5-year goals that we set. And so really I would challenge anyone that is trying to find a footing in what it looks like to have their own personal proxemic service, whether you're an ally, whether you're a part of the community. Get in the game. We, as we choose to have opinions and maybe criticize how certain things are going, I would always challenge someone to get in the game. And if you are a leader and you are responsible for navigating other people's careers, if you're a mentor, if you're a coach, however you want to frame it, if you're not in the game, then how well are you actually stewarding the relationships that are looking to you in order to help them guide their careers?
Absolutely.
Because you have to be well versed in the space
That's
to be
right.
able to actually move to the next level yourself, and also for the other people that are looking to you or following you in the business.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's just what I would say. I would challenge everybody to get in the game. There's tons of opportunities to get involved, and we're a phone call away. Myself, Kimberly, and Alvis, you can reach out to any one of us, and we'd be happy to help you get in the game.
And this forum is good too. Just sitting
Oh,
here
yeah.
talking.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Jay, for inviting us all. I
Oh,
mean,
Jay, thank
giving
you.
us the idea. I mean, we
problem.
don't know. This could go for Juneteenth. This could go for Cinco de Mayo, whatever it is. I mean, I think this is a good forum, and it helps us to bring out ideas that our people need to hear.
Absolutely.
Not just our people as Black people, but Ericsson people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is great.
And to add to that, we hear this often. And I'm sorry, I'm a people person, but you have to speak up.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Speak up. And like Daniel said, put that hand out there, help someone else.
Right.
You know, we need more of that. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Right.
Because sure, something could happen, say, oh, no, that's not a good idea, or I don't want to do that. However, but you know that you spoke up and you shared your ideas, you shared whatever your experience is. Just speak up. Just share it with the world. Share it with the Ericsson family. Like, we need it. We need to hear from you all.
Absolutely.
We need that partnership.
Right.
We need to all work together. And I feel like we can enjoy life much better when we're all
sure can.
together
Right.
doing some good things.
Right.
So,
We're our life for each other.
yep.
So.
Yep.
This is the first of hopefully of many.
Oh, wow.
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
We're
This
going
is
to
awesome.
do, this is the first of the African American Alliance that we're going to do for Black History Month. We are going to do a second one next week. But, you know, Alvis and I have had a conversation about, you know, kind of continuing a podcast where, you know, just the Ericsson audience.
Yep.
Because this is something that, you know, the four of us, I don't know, have we ever had a conversation, you know, at all. You know,
Nope.
Not at all.
To my knowledge, this is my first time meeting Kimberly.
Yeah.
So, you know, and Alvis and Daniel and I, we kind of crossed paths, but we've never actually sat down and had a conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is good for not only us as individuals, but just as Ericsson as a whole.
That's correct.
So I think, you know, moving forward, this is something that we definitely want to explore that I think is beneficial to, you know, the audience as a whole. Like I said, this is the first of two. So join us next week. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to, you know,
That's
post
right.
those as we, you know, get this up on social media and things of that nature. So look forward to the feedback. Next week, we have another great panel to come discuss being Black in the tech telecom space. Just real quick, do you all have any thoughts on that, being Black in the tech telecom space? I just want to throw that out there.
I think we covered up some of that by bringing people to the table.
Absolutely.
So that's good.
Absolutely.
I will leave it to them. I know they're gonna. I know who's coming
All right.
next.
All right.
They're gonna give everything and some more.
That's
Perfect.
right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, look forward to that podcast next week. Thank you all again for joining me, and look forward to doing this again.
Thank
you,
you.
Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.